Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I am going to talk about one of the most serious things you can. So watch this one, listen to this one, and drop your comments below because I do want to hear especially what you have to say about this. I'm going to talk about the number one cause of narcissism and why society is shattered. If you don't like doom and gloom, well, you might not want to watch this one. But if you like realistic reality, where we're really at, because that's what the point of this is. I'm not a doom and gloomer. I have a ton of joy and hope in my life because I've Christ in my life. I know, I know what is going to happen after all this is said and done. I know what eternity looks like. So don't think, please, that I don't have joy. But I also have to assess the state of the world, which is an absolute decay and freefall. And narcissism is more rampant than ever. Society is absolutely shattered. Jesus talked about the last days looking like the days of Noah. Why did he say that? Because in the days of Noah, everybody sat and watched Noah build the ark and laughed and scoffed because they thought the world was just going on as normal. Nothing's going to happen. Noah, what are you doing, man? Why are you wasting your time? It's not a drop of rain. What are you doing? That's what Jesus compared it to. So, in other words, the world is in absolute free fall at the last days, according to Jesus, but only those who have spiritual eyes can actually see it. The rest of the world eats and drinks and gets married and just, in other words, just lives their life like it's any other time. Meanwhile, spiritually, the world has become a catastrophe. That's where we are. So, the number one cause of narcissism and why society is shattered. Some of you might know what I'm going to say, but some of you don't. So, some will answer this question in general ways. It's just a lack of morality, just a lack of overall morality. Yep, there's a lack of morality. There's no doubt. A hideous lack of morality. Most people do not have any kind of moral compass at all. They do not care what they do to anybody else. It's all about me, and I don't care how it affects anybody else. Yeah, true. Well, it's just the culture. Culture has just become so bad in general, or it's toxic and manipulative, and everyone's out for themselves, similar to the morality. Yep, all true. Culture shot. Fair enough. Well, that's feminism. Things like this, and there's a lot of other things. Well, that's feminism. Feminism has just warped women's minds, and it's created gender wars, and yeah, some of that's true. Well, and then you might just say, and this really is the overall foundational piece of things, it's just overall godlessness. People just don't bend the knee to God anymore. And of course, when I say godlessness, I don't mean there's no God in their lives. I mean not the true God, not the Lord Jesus Christ, not the Father, Son, and Spirit, but the God of this age or the ruler of this world, as Jesus said it. He's in control of most people's lives. Everyone serves a master. It's the Lord Christ, or it is the Lord Jesus Christ, or it is the devil. But you might say then broadly, it's just godlessness. It's overall godlessness. That's why the culture is so bad. Yeah, very true. All of these things and so many others are true. They're accurate. But the problem I'm going to discuss takes every one of those things and either has created them to new levels or has brought them about all the way around. This thing I'm going to talk about really encompasses all of this and exacerbates all of this. Some of you know, like I said, what I'm going to say. What is the number one cause of narcissism? Why is society shattered beyond repair and it's never ever coming back? I'm sorry to say. It is just going to continue to get worse as a narcissist does. So, what is it? This. This godforsaken piece of equipment called a smartphone. Some of you are already thinking when I brought that smartphone up, what are you talking about? The smartphone is the worst thing on earth. It's the worst thing. It's the number one cause of narcissism and why society is shattered. Of all these other things, that's the worst problem. Yes, it is. And in fact, I'm going to go so far as to say it is by far and away untouched, unparalleled, the worst thing that's ever happened to society and ethics, morality, faith that has ever happened. I want to talk about why. I want to prove to you why. But the overarching reason is very simple. The smartphone has enabled things that were never ever possible throughout all of human history until about the last 20 to 25 years. When I grew up, this tells you my age, which I don't care if people know my age, but I grew up in the time period when I was in high school and just leaving high school, entering college. That's about when everybody started to get a cell phone. And usually it was that flip phone, a very generic thing. You could just text on it. Internet capabilities didn't really even exist on it yet. And over the next several years, they started to grow into more basic smartphones that you could actually do things with on the internet. And then from there, obviously, we know where it is. Now we walk around with a miniature computer in our pocket that is light years ahead of the computers that used to come out in the 80s and 90s. The big, great big whole room computers. Yeah, this is much more powerful than those. Tells you where it is. Knowledge has greatly increased and people have run to and fro, just like Daniel said, or Daniel was told about the last days. So it has enabled things that were never ever before possible. Not even close. Here's some examples. People can see anything they want to see. And keep this in mind with the narcissist, because like I said, this is what has exacerbated narcissism. This has created narcissism and it has exacerbated narcissism. It's created wicked people and it's exacerbated their behavior. It has done both to levels that have never been seen before. Believe me. Yes, there's always been corrupt people. Never to the levels and the mass spread ways that we see today because of this thing. So bear in mind, this pertains very especially, specifically to the narcissist, but this explains the world in general. People can see anything they want to see in about 2 seconds. And I mean anything. Your wildest dreams, you can if you can think it up, if you can dream it, you can go find it in 2 seconds on a cell phone. Even back in the days of internet exclusively being at home on your computer before the day of the smartphone, you had to be at home to do any of this. You had to be at home to look anything up. Now you carry your computer around with you everywhere you go, in your car, in hotel lobby, in your bed at night, on the couch. When you're out with people, when you're not out with people, everywhere you go, you have instant access to absolutely anything that the internet has to offer in a flash. Think about the difference between that and even back when you had to hook up online or link up online to dial up and then the early stages of internet, of Wi-Fi and high speed. People can look anything up. For all of human history, I can just imagine these conversations that took place, for instance, between men in the marketplace. You're sitting around the marketplace, you're trading goods, buying things, and the guys get together and they look over at a beautiful woman and they start to talk and chatter. Look at her, man. And their vernacular of the day. Look at her, bro. And they're looking at a woman who was probably beautiful, but she was wearing long clothes, maybe some kind of robe, a dress that goes down past the knee, concealed, covered. And that's what they were talking about. And that's the temptation they had for most of human history until the last 20, 25 years, really. Now, what's the temptation? I want to see any type of person. I like this type of woman. I want to see her doing this, dressed like this. Right here, right now, boom. Beep, beep. There it is. Seeing any kind of woman you want doing the wildest things. Reverse for women. Lots of women like to do this too. They look up this same stuff. See a man doing anything you want to see, any way you want him to look like. Heck, now you can create them thanks to AI. And this is emerging, guys. This is a very, very big deal that's a last days phenomenon. You don't even, it's not even about real people anymore. It's moving past even looking at real people online. You can create a boyfriend, girlfriend, S3X toy in a flash. That's an AI generated being. Think about how different that was from any other time in history. It's not even close. Anyone who thinks the temptation, oh, temptation's just always been there. Oh, we've always been tempted. Sure, temptation's always existed. But if you think it's anywhere near the levels that it is now, you are dreaming. You're delusional. If you don't think it's much far harder to walk the straight line today than it ever has been, I don't know what kind of drugs you're on. I don't. You don't live in reality if you think that. Again, the difference between seeing some woman in the market wearing a dress down below her knee, talking about what might be underneath that dress, versus being able to click a few buttons and see any woman doing anything you want, and even fake ones. If you don't see the drastic difference, you're dreaming. How about this? People can now be unbelievably lazy. They don't even have to put in effort. They don't have to put clothes on because the smartphone. You want to meet people? You want to talk to people? You want to get filled up with supply? Simple enough. Don't even have to leave your house. Just find yourself a cozy little spot on your couch or on your bed and pull out that smartphone. How many people have inboxed me today? Oh, there's Darren and Jason and John and Michael and Brian number two and John number two and and he lives in my hometown and he lives in that town next to me and he lives on the other side of the state and he lives on the other side of the country and he lives on the other side of the world. Oh, and where am I ever going? How am I ever going to get through all these messages? I'm just inbox. I've got 713 unread messages. Good night, darling. Good night, lovely. See you tomorrow, beautiful. I just leave them on red. If you think I'm exaggerating, you don't know how this really works today. It does. It does work this way for a lot of people. Do you think any of that was possible? You used to have to get dressed, at least put your clothes on, and go somewhere sometime if you wanted to meet somebody and you wanted to have conversation and get attention and get validation, which most people didn't want to get. Most people didn't just live for attention and validation in the past because they couldn't. You couldn't just get it in the snap of a finger. You had to work for that. Not anymore. People are so unbelievably lazy, particularly with their social interactions. It's not funny. They're so lazy to the point where they strike up relationships over the cell phone that never turn into reality at all. And if one person says the slightest thing they don't like, they literally just dump them off because they don't even explain themselves. They don't even want to talk about anything. Forget having an issue in a relationship. Just blow it up, move on like they didn't exist. Where's the next 30, 40 people? That's lazy beyond belief. Most people are that way. It's unimaginable how bad it really is. I hope you guys are starting to see what these things enable. And yes, I know they do good things. There are some good things. It is a double-edged sword. But the sharper sword that's destroying things is far sharper. It's far more potent. For every good thing the cell phone has enabled, and there are some good things, it's nice to be able to communicate with somebody quickly. Most of the time, that's a good thing. A lot of time, anyway. It's nice to be able to see where you're going when you don't know. I mean, maps. It's nice to stay connected to people you don't get to see very often. Good things. But I promise you this, for every good thing that this cell phone has brought into existence, it's brought about 10,000 negative things with it. The ratio is not even close. So don't tell me it's just, oh, there's pros and cons. There's good and bad. No, no, no. There's some good and there's an infinite level of bad. How about this one? Simple fact that this is the biggest one. I promise you it probably is. People cannot be satisfied anymore with anything or anyone. The world, when we say the world is at your fingertips, we literally mean that. It is the paradox of choice, and I did a video on this recently, so look up paradox of choice on my videos. The paradox of choice now applies to everything, which is basically the principle that there are so many options, or having too many options actually creates a worse situation because you can't actually decide on one. You walk into a store, it's got 10,000 products of the same type you're looking for versus a few. There's too many to even decide. How do you pick? This has created that with every single thing on earth. Where do I want to eat today? Could be anywhere. Could be absolutely anywhere. Anything I can think of, basically. And I can have it delivered. Lazy again. Don't have to go out. Just have it delivered. I want to talk to this kind of person today. I can. I want to go here. I can. You can find anything immediately. And it's created a problem where a lot of people are just stuck. And this is especially true for relationships. Dating apps, social media, and the fact that you can put a bunch of people in your phone and be texting them constantly. You can have as many people in here as you want. Every once in a while, it's been a few months since I texted Michael. I think I'll text Michael. See if he's on the hook. Meanwhile, I'm texting Joe and Jason. Yeah, how you got? Yeah. Breadcrumb. Let me just follow up with him every once in a while. Let me look through some of these names that are in my phone that I haven't talked to in 2 or 3 years. Let me just send a little floater their way and see if they're still around. Do you understand how bad this is? Do you understand what that does to people? And yeah, I'm frustrated because I am talking about what is to me the biggest problem with society and why narcissism is so rampant. It is. So dating apps, social media has created this mindset where nobody wants to settle for anything. Everyone believes, because for a lot of people, particularly attractive women, not limited to, but especially women who are even just remotely attractive at all, and even a lot that are not. You can get on there and you can find anything you want. You will have people flooding in. And it does work some ways for guys too at times. Sometimes, not as much at times though. Why would you settle for anything when the next best thing is always going to be around the corner? When you don't know who you might meet next, and then next, and then next, who's going to get on the dating app tomorrow, who's going to inbox me tomorrow. This person's great, but I don't know. I don't know who's going to be there tomorrow. This is almost guys like this, and this is real. Imagine that you're looking for a job and you are getting job offers that literally just come into your inbox for you every day, dozens of times, or even hundreds of times a day. And some of these are bad offers, but some of them are really good and they give you pause. And every time you start to look at a job offer, you're like, whoa, this actually looks really, what's that? Oh, wait a minute. They're reaching out to me. What are they offering? Oh man, I don't know. That's actually maybe a little better than that was. But wait, I got another one. Oh, that's the one. Oh wait. This new one might be even better. But you know what's better than all of them is the one that hasn't come in yet. That's the best job offer. How do you settle? How do you decide you're just going to take one? How do you decide you're going to do that? When those are going to continue to flood in, when you know you can sit there till the cows come home and you're going to keep getting inundated with these job offers, some a little better, some a little better, some a little better, some seemingly at least a little bit better, and you're trying to weed through all of this. At what point do most people say, That one. I don't care what comes tomorrow. I don't care what comes next week, next month. I'm taking this job and I'm not looking back and I'm off the job market. At what point do you do that? Do you get what I'm saying? This is the very real scenario that many people, especially women today, and it's not a shot to women, it's just the truth. It's how it works. It's just the truth. I love men and women equally, but I understand reality. This is the way that it works. And at what point then are people going to settle for somebody? At what point are they going to see someone as so valuable to them that they're closing off all their options? They're getting off all the dating apps. They're getting off the social media. They're not texting with other people. They've just found them. They're exclusive to them, and that's it. Is it any wonder this doesn't happen? Is it any wonder why you meet so many people today and they'll tell you things like, marriage just doesn't make sense. I can't ever imagine being married. Why? Because in their minds, that means settling for somebody, anybody, even if they're great, because they don't know who's going to come and be better. And they don't want to be tied down and locked down. That's why so many people just date so many different folks and they're dealing with everybody on their phone all the time because they don't want to settle. And in their minds, they do think something is always better. Do you realize that very scenario I just described in some detail was absolutely impossible across the board before smartphones? Impossible. And now, I promise you with every fiber of my being, most people in this world, their minds are mush. There's nothing in between here. They are disoriented and just wandering through the world. What's next? Where? That's what they're doing. Their minds are shot. They're shattered. They're blown. Because they are so much endless attention and validation all the time. Talking to him, talking to him, talking to her, talking to them. There's that person. Here's this. What? You don't think that destroys people's minds? I promise you it does. They don't think clearly anymore. They don't see the value in anybody. How could you see the value in anybody if that's the life that you live? If that many people are right there at your disposal at any given time, and most people who want to do this can do it. Guarantee it. I hope you're not one of those people. I do. But I guarantee you, if you wanted to go and try to test all the dating apps, see how many people you could be talking to at once, you could start to do this very thing. I guarantee you, if I wanted to do it, could start right now. Probably by the weekend, be talking to 4, 5, 6 people. Have a bunch of people on the hook. And that's not even saying anything about myself. That's the state of things. It's not hard. It's not hard. And if you happen to be a beautiful person, for example, where it just comes super easy to you, well, that's when you get 100 DMs. It's a sick, sick world. Why settle? Why settle for anybody when it is that way? Why value and appreciate anybody when it is that way? And do you realize how narcissistic this is at its core? This is the heart of narcissism, to be insatiable, to not be satisfied with anyone. No one is ever good enough. Look at the way it works. This is now an accurate statement for most of the people out there today. Even if they're in marriages, it's often this way. Or relationships, or they're engaged, they're still operating this way because it's too easy to get attention on this thing. The new normal for the world is to be in relationships and still be communicating with people of the opposite sex on your cell phone. That's the norm. That is, in fact, it's been pushed to being the acceptable standard by most people. Yeah, I mean, she talks to other guys, he talks to other women, but I mean, she's with me, and people have literally accepted that, and they're probably doing it too. So in a sense, most relationships today are kind of open relationships, even if the person in them doesn't know it. The paradox of choice has destroyed everything. It has blown the world up. And I'm telling you, the cell phone is the biggest reason. And you know what happens in the midst of all these things I'm describing? The one thing it is impossible to do that people do not do anymore, on average, most of the time, is trust anybody. They do not trust anybody because they know oftentimes what they're doing. And so they assume, like the narcissist, that you must be doing those things too. If I'm talking to other people in here and doing shady stuff, then everyone else is too. So there's no trust. That's why you can be on a date with people, and if you get a single text message, could be from a buddy to talk about football, they're paranoid. Your phone's blowing up. What's going on? Because inside of their phone, they're talking to people. So if you're getting texted, they assume you must be doing the same thing. There is no trust. It is shattered. It is blown. And you can thank this thing for that specifically, mostly. So you want to know what the number one problem is? Why narcissism is so exacerbated today? Why it exists so prevalently today? And there's one last point I'm going to make before I close. Also, because of the smartphone, no one is ever present with anybody in the moment, whether they're alone or together. No one is ever present in the moment anymore, it doesn't seem like. Because if they're out on their own, they're buried in their phone. If they're out with other people, they're buried in their phone. If they're at dinner with their family or friends, they're buried in their phone. How many memes have you seen that show this? But it's true. Go to a restaurant next time. If you haven't done this, look around at everybody in there, and I guarantee you 80+% of the people are buried in their phones the whole time, unless they're eating. And even when they're eating, they're texting and driving. People can't get off of them. People spend hours and hours and hours a day on their cell phones. I guarantee most of these narcissists, they might be awake for asleep for 5 or 6 hours a day, because most of them don't sleep because they're too busy on these. And every waking second, so let's just say they're awake for 18 hours a day, I'll bet you they're on their cell phone, their smartphone, for 15 of it. And I kid you not. In some capacity. Got to answer the next message. Got to check who's inboxed me. Got to keep all these people going. So no one's ever present in the moment. Nobody enjoys a moment, enjoys a walk, enjoys a fishing outing like I'm doing this evening, enjoys a peaceful moment, because their lives literally run on this daggone thing, this godforsaken end time, last days device, and that's what it is. I hate them. And I hate the age of texting. Texting alone has destroyed. I got to wrap this video up. It's getting long. Texting alone has destroyed so many things. Can't communicate with people. You get ghosted. Ghosting is more prevalent. You can beat people up digitally on a cell phone. You don't have to be in person anymore. You can bludgeon people with abuse via this thing on social media, on texting. And that abuse is the words. That abuse is the withdrawal, the silent treatment, the ghosting, building things up and disappearing. Yeah, people are getting abused left, right, and center because of this thing. You don't even have to see the person and you're getting abused. And here's the bad news, guys, the worst news. So there's no trust, there's no satisfaction. The narcissist runs the world, and most people are increasingly narcissistic. And here's the worst news. And then there's good news. The worst news is if you're one of those people who actually think to themselves, how are we going to get this back? How are we going to turn the tide? How are we going to fix relationships? How are we going to fix dating and marriages and the way we... If you actually even ask that question, I'm worried for you, because it is absurd. I understand the desire to want those things, but if you actually think that they're possible, they're not. Are we going to get rid of this? No. Are we going to stop making advancements to it that make it easier to do all this stuff? No. Are we going to get rid of the internet? No. Are we going to go back from any of this? No, we're not. In the last days, things just continue to progress worse and at lightning speed. How bad has it gotten so quickly in the last 15 to 20 years? How bad has it gotten that fast? So there is no turning back. There is no recovery. There is no mass renaissance and redemption that's awaiting us on this earth. The good news is the king is coming back very soon. Don't know when, would never try to predict that. It would be ridiculous. But when I say soon, I mean we're in that last stretch. This should tell you, if nothing else, that we're in that last stretch. My advice is to get your life in order. My advice is to spend as little time on this as you can, to get off the dating apps, to get off social media as much as you can. My advice is to let this run your life as little as you can and to get yourself right, because as I've showed you here, this is wrapping up. This is wrapping up fast. So guys, thanks for listening to me rant. Drop comments below on what you think. This is definitely one of my more heated and I guess frustrated videos, but it's also just a desperation cry. You want to know the number one thing that's making narcissism so bad, creating narcissists, exacerbating it, and shattering the world? That's your answer. God bless.